Have you seen my new
What is
cat?
up, everybody? Look at that fucking cat. Oh my god.
All
Yeah,
of you audio listeners, I'm sorry you can't see this fucking face right here.
It's a
Here, Brad,
gorgeous
you can have
cat.
better luck. That's Dolly.
Thank you. Hi, Dolly. Welcome to another episode of Snap On Ego. My name is Brad, otherwise known as Brad. We're joined by Chris, Bootman Bootay. Looks like we have the biggest goddamn update we've ever had, ever. We're going to be talking about all that and more.
It's crazy. We say that, like, I'm realizing when this one came out, I'm like, we always say that. Like, we say it's the biggest patch ever, but, like, they keep getting bigger. Like, they're getting bigger. And, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I love it. We'll dive into that in a minute, but yeah.
So yeah, like I said, as you can see on the screen here in front of you, if you are a wonderful video looker, listener, whatever, there's a lot. We got deck builder, albums, and emotes to start off everything in the update. First off, I guess we can go over those in a little bit of a small fashion, because the meat and potatoes are going to obviously be in the balance as it always is. But let's go through these one at a time real quick. Okay, deck builder. First things first. People are complaining about the fact that they'll do the deck builder. It's like it puts in the new Chavez. Spoiler, she's been changed. We'll get to her in a little bit.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh my god, the deck builder is broken. It doesn't work.
Smart. They said it was a smart builder.
And it's like, and Glenn's like, yeah, it's using data from prior to the patch. That will self-correct itself as new data comes in. And it's like, everyone's like,
you want them to predict the future? Like, and say, oh, these are the best cards, you know what I mean? So yeah.
Do people, what do they think the deck builder utilizes to automatically fill in, like, those people clearly didn't fucking read the patch. Hey, Chris, if I go look at the patch right now, I'm 99% sure it says it uses data. Let's see.
I won't name names, but I saw some creators, like, flagging this. I'm like, come on. I know you get to read this.
The data that deck builder uses is updated regularly, so you can always count on it giving you a quality deck based on your collection. And I wonder what they're updating it with. What data are they using? Probably their internal data of what, like, decks are.
Yeah, but here's the real controversy I want to discuss. And I don't know why more people aren't discussing this, okay? Like, you and I would talk about data a lot. We talk about untapped data. We talk about, untapped data versus the data the second dinner has. We have, like, such a tiny fraction of data that second dinner has, right? And, like, I was curious to see when this came out how good these decks would be, because they got to have access to stuff we don't know about. There is a mythical Spider-Man 2099 deck that none of us know about. Every time people ask, Glenn, when are you buffing Spider-Man 2099? He's like, no. He actually has a very good win rate in a deck, right? And we're like, what is it? First fucking thing I did, I put Spider-Man 2099, I hit build a deck and just build some random move deck. So what I'm getting at is they have some kind of, like, limiter on it, right? Like, there's something where it's not, I don't think it's gonna give you the absolute best deck. It's going to give you just something reasonable. So I'm like, did they really build technology to make sure that you don't build the best deck? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Why is nobody asking these questions, Brad? I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, because, like, they're not going to be looking at the data from, like, Untapped and, like, Snap.fan and shit. They're going to be using their own internal data. So, like, which internal data are they pulling from? What aspects of it? That's
I wonder if
noting.
maybe, what would be easy if they had a cap on the win rate. If it said build a deck that's, like, in this win rate range, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That way you're not getting the busted 60% deck that they are, like, inevitably going to nerf because they submitted the patch today for January to ensure that the next patch goes live. Which, by the way, the amount of people that don't understand how patches work in this industry is baffling to me. Like, they need to put them weeks in advance, not because they want to, but because they have to. If they want the patch to go through and get approved by Apple, Google, and Steam, or Valve in that instance, they need to put them in advance so they can go through that approval process. It's not like they want to fucking put them in a month in advance. Also, this one was special because of Thanksgiving, adding an extra week to the equation.
Yeah. But This is interesting though. I wanted to test out and see what it did if I just put Loki in, and it did put one of the top decks. Why did it put Chavez in here? But yeah, the Loki deck is pretty close to what people have been using. Pretty damn close. That's interesting. Maybe they're really trying to keep this Spider-Man 2099 one under wraps. There's something going on. You Marvel Snap conspiracy theorists out there, I need you guys to dig into this and see what's going on. But I'll tell you my number one favorite thing about this deck builder, even though it's still going to happen, we content creators, the number one question we get is, what can I replace this card with? And I'm just going to send a screenshot. I said this the other day on Twitter. I'm going to send them a screenshot of that fucking button to hit it. Just hit the button. And we're still going to get that question. I can't wait for so many people missing Jeff to hit that button and watch Nightcrawler pop up every fucking
Hey, maybe it'll give them Chavez as the other replacement to their 2-3 that they're missing.
I think that this was a big quality of life improvement, but I do not see the percentage of that question going down. All right, so what's next up on the list?
It's albums. So albums, for those of you unaware, albums are basically a conglomerate of a type of variant. In this case, the 3 that are on the track right now. I guess 4, because the Hellfire Gala one's going to be coming out. It's the Venomized Villains, which is just the Venomized variants of like things like Typhoid Mary, Loki, Red Skull, etc., etc. Then there's the Dan Hip ones, as well as Jim Lee variants. And these are going to be albums that are a total of 12 potential variants that are handpicked by Second Dinner. And then in increments of 3, 6, 9, and 12, at those rates at which you earn them or have the ones in that album, you get a reward. So for the Dan Hip one, for example, the first one is an avatar. Then it's for the first 3. Then when you get to 6, it's 2,000 credits. Then when you get to 9, it's a variant or a card back or something. I forgot. And then the last one is an emote for the 12. And that's kind of essentially the first way we're seeing the ability to earn these new emotes. A lot of people are not super happy about the way these have been introduced, and I kind of agree. Especially the Jim Lee one. It's like here's a bunch of variants that aren't released yet. They'll be released today most likely, but they're not released yet. You have no chance.
Yeah, as a consumer, I am not super happy. But like, if I was Second Dinner, whoever came up with this idea, pure fucking genius. Like, genius. Like, they are about to make so much more money off cosmetics with this, right? Like, people just specifically hunting these things down and stuff. And the idea of it's cool. Like, it takes me back to when I was a kid and I used to collect Marvel cards, like trading cards, and I would fill up my albums and stuff. And like, some of them would like create a scene like of 9 cards and stuff like that. It was great, very nostalgic. But yeah, like, I don't like how it's handpicked. Like, one of the things that somebody, when I mentioned this on Twitter, I was like, I don't like that they're picking the ones for me, right? Like, for example, the Venomized Villains ones, that's like the most tolerable one, but they were sneaky about it. They made it Venomized Villains. Because I was like, how do I not have most of these? And I have like Spider-Ham, Ghost Spider, you know what I mean? So I have heroes, so I'm like, yeah, you got me, you fuckers, right? But now I gotta go get a fucking 1,200 gold Baron Mordo to get, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what? The Venomized Thanos looks pretty good. But here's what's fucked. Somebody replied to my tweet, and they said somebody has 30 Dan Hip variants. They are a Dan Hip fan. They have 30 Dan Hip variants and only have like 1 or 2 in that album. Like, that to me should not happen, right? Like, for someone like Dan Hip, and there's so many Dan Hip fans, they should have like something like a wild card or something like in there, like 3 or 4 of those, where it's like, these could be anything. Like, I don't think somebody who's that devoted, like that person right there is clearly spending money and they're probably pissed. You know what I mean? So
yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
I even have like 40 Dan Hips, right? And
I only have for the album.
6.
6?
Yeah.
I have like 2 for the album, I think, and I'm like a mediocre Dan Hip fan. Oh no, I actually have 4. Yeah, I have 4.
I'm not even a fan of Dan Hip. I've never bought a Dan Hip variant. I just get them. And I mean, to put this in perspective, friend of the show, super tech god, who is variant complete, does not have any of these albums finished because all of them feature variants that are not released yet.
Yep, that was interesting. When I saw his tweet, I'm like, oh,
yeah.
I'm like, that's kind of interesting. But one of them's like 11 out of 12 or something like that.
Yeah,
huh?
the Dan Hip one because there was only Claw that wasn't in there yet.
Yeah, that's the only one that's not
but
released.
The Jim Lee, he only had like 3 because the majority. I even made a tweet. I was like, I don't recognize any of these, and everyone's like, yeah, they're all unreleased. I'm like, why are all of these unreleased variants? That's so insane. There's not even a chance for someone to just by pure happenstance because they like the Jim Lee art, or the same thing for Dan Hip, or like any of these types of albums. There's no chance for someone to just be like, I like this guy, I like this artist, I'm gonna pick these up, and then wow, when the album came out, I actually had like 9 of these. That's really cool. And I'm gonna get them anyway. That makes me feel good. No, instead it's like, you want these, you have to buy all of them. And we're giving you them all at once.
Yeah, and that's a lot of gold, man. I don't know. I wish somebody would keep track of this. People keep track of really interesting things, but it seems like a lot of the new variants are 1,200 gold. Like, but I do know for a fact, like some kind of Max Greg, because he's one of my favorites, came out and it was 700. Oh man, the new Wolverine meme one, it's 1,200. The mother effers.
Yep.
Like, I love my Max Rack Wolverine, but like I've been waiting for this meme one forever. So, but anyways, I'm curious how many of the newer released are. Oh, what is this? Have you opened up the game yet?
Yeah, but I didn't really peruse too much.
So
what's
look,
up?
I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, yeah. So I know what that is. So basically now mystery variants, or like the premium mystery variants, have a album sticker assigned to them, which means when you purchase it that time, there's a higher percentage chance of you rolling into one of those selected albums. Not a guarantee, but you have a chance of like a higher percentage chance of like by rolling an 800, you are more likely to get one of your venomized villains, is that particular one.
That's kind of cool.
You know, it'd be cooler if it was just straight up guaranteed that you'd get one of those on the pre-mystery variant. Or, you know what? Hey, better yet, it'd be even better if I could go to the album, click on the album, and when I click on the grayed out one I don't own, I could just buy it from there without it being in my fucking shop. If you want people to wail, let them wail. Let them just get them. I mean, I'm not gonna do that, but shit, someone will.
This is kind of better. Like, it's kind of better now that like you can kind of do that. But yeah, I do like your idea more. Yeah, if you want people to wail. Like, I understand the limits they put within the game, so you can't like keep buying gold all day and spend thousands and then just like progress up and get like 1 million, spotlight keys and everything. But
who cares?
If you want people to wail. Like, I wish, like, here's where they screwed up for me. Like with that Venom album, like, yeah, I might stop after that Kingpin one. Like, Venom's my shit. Like, I love Venom. Like, you can see my little Venom thing over there. I got Venom all over the place, got Venom on my tattoo. But that Venom emote, it's like very mid. It's very mid for me. Like, if it was sassy, if it induced some kind of like Miss Marvel hate, then I would buy all these fuckers. You know what I mean? But it's like him licking a Spider-Man like thing. So like, I'm like, eh.
So yeah, that's I did a tier list or whatever for the emotes and shit for a YouTube video, which, oh my god, finally I actually put out another goddamn video. And my number 1 tier for the emotes was happily spam, where it's like, if someone spammed these against you, how can you get upset? Like in what world? Like, could you imagine if you lost, Chris? In any capacity, you lose, and they spam fist bump. You might be like, okay, And
Yeah.
what are you
Yeah.
what are you trying to accomplish here? And I put that Venom one in the happily spam. I'm like, if you're gonna spam the Venom at me, I'm just like, yeah, he's licking a Spider-Man popsicle lollipop
Yeah.
thing. Like,
Yeah, no, like imagine like the
cool.
most feels bad things in the game, right? Like let's say Alioth, and we'll talk about his nerf in a minute. But yeah, like if somebody Alioth me and then did that, I'd be like, you actually kind of made it feel less bad. You know what I mean? Or if somebody like Galactus me or something with some like crazy Galactus combo I wasn't expecting, you know, I just wouldn't. But what I'm saying is, if they managed to put in a Venom emote that did invoke some anger, I might go for it. So I want somebody to know, not only am I balling out of control, but I get sassy too. So yeah, I'm probably gonna go for the Kingpin, and then we'll see, because yeah, I think I only need like one or two. I only need one more for the Kingpin, and that's actually really good, because the only ones I like are the Thanos one and probably the Juggernaut, even though I just got the baby Juggernaut. But yeah, I don't think the Juggernaut's released yet. So, but yeah, anyways, albums, let us know your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious. But yeah, let people fucking go crazy. So, oh, I guess that parlays well into the next topic of emotes and stuff like that. I'm a little, I don't know, like, did they say anything about emotes coming out in more ways than just the
They have not.
albums?
They have not.
So it's gonna take forever, right? All those emotes they showed in the video, with players consent.
Here's all the ones we
per
can
day.
see. I just used my tier list because that's how I had them all organized.
Mm.
These are all of them. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, maybe they'll not all be albums. I hope not. I hope there's like, well, I mean, I guess you could check the Conquest rewards. Is there any emotes in the Conquest rewards at the moment that we can see?
Oh, that would be interesting.
I mean,
Yeah,
like,
because the Conquest shop could really use some stuff. What's that Thirst Trap Thor variant in there? What's up? No, there are no emotes in the Conquest shop.
damn,
It's all
it's
literally
unfortunate.
just the same stuff. Ooh, there's a premium mystery variant for week 4. Is that the first time we're getting one of those?
Sounds like it. Yeah, they've always just been random mystery
There's
variants.
a mystery variant for first week, and then week 4 is premium mystery variant. So yeah, with these emotes too, like, yeah, then I'm curious, like, what people are going to be using, you know, and like, if they're only in albums, like your whole muted section, by the way, everybody go watch Brad's video. We'll link his channel down below, but, like that muted section, like I almost wondered, like if somebody did that to me, I'd be like, man, that shit cost you a lot of money. Like, I don't know if I feel that, like, you spent like a few bills to get that emote for all the freaking variants you had to get.
You earned it, buddy.
Yeah, so like, hey, emote away, like you paid good money for that shit. So yeah, like if that's the case, if you can only get them in albums, then fucking emote spam me all you want. I'm still gonna mute you, but good for you.
The most powerful card is the credit card.
Yep. So what was the other thing? Oh, the Spotlight avatar frame. I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't have
I can pull it up.
You have an image of that?
I can get it pulled up in just a second. You can start talking your way through it.
So now if you got Spotlight variants, there was a new Spotlight avatar border. So it's kind of like you know, the Infinity border. And this one looks very X-Men-ish. It's like yellow and blue, right? But anyways, yeah, look at that. Like this, I know they recently, like a couple months ago, they changed the Infinity border.
Mm-hmm.
But this clearly stands out way more. Like this stands out like a ton more. And I'm curious what happens. What if I get an Infinity border on this? You know?
I don't know.
But anyways, I like it, but I'm not going to go for more Infinity or Spotlight variants because of this. But yeah.
I will say I don't like these. They're not my thing. But I appreciate the effort involved in them. I appreciate them trying. And I also appreciate that you can still use these avatars without the border if you so wish.
Oh,
you have 2 of them in your
so it's kind of like the Infinity. What you just I just heard. I was watching the Snapping guys. And
Oh, that's how you do the balloons.
Yeah.
I've been trying to figure that
do
out.
This?
Well, it
Wait,
doesn't
can I
work for
do
you.
it?
I'm on an iPhone, so it's because I'm using the continuity camera as my phone.
Oh,
It works for like so iPhone added an update where you can do all the emotes and shit like through like hands. So if I do this, it should like
for those of you
do
listening right now, there's a bunch of effects going off around Brad. We got
on
balloons and
rain.
hearts and fantastic.
That's awesome.
Okay, back to Marvel
Hold
Snap.
on. Now Siri's trying to talk to me through the watch. I got too much shit going on.
But yeah, I think they're decent. I do think like the color scheme is very X-Men-y though. Like that's the color combo, but yeah, it's cool. It's cool. All right, let's get into what everybody came here for.
All right, balancing the big one out of the way. First things first, it's America Chavez.
Look how much fucking text you had to shove in there.
I know. It's so much. So old version, she was a 6/9. Nice. Starts on the bottom of your deck. Draw this on turn 6. Now she is a 2/3. On reveal, the top card of your deck gets +2 power. They've hinted at this for a while, that Chavez is not going to be staying in her existing state for the longest period of time. And they finally pulled the trigger on this massive, massive rework. And they put in a big old word salad of all the reasons as which why.
I'll cover the main part, okay? It says, philosophically, America Chavez doesn't behave the way we want cards to. She most often isn't played or even used for fun synergies, just for percentage increase on drawing other cards, making an 11-card deck. That's not to say no use met our standard. The Dracula decks were cool. We respect that many players enjoy the concept of deck thinning or quote-unquote fixing draws, but it's dangerous to metagame health that America Chavez does this too freely for too many decks. In fact, she's often the most popular card in the game on a given week. But most of the time, that means she's pushing the 12th most interesting card for a deck out of it. And that is one of the big, or was one of the big issues with America Chavez, was that it's just like, oh, what other cool card could I put in here? What other card would be awesome? Or what card am I cutting just to increase the chances of my combo, right? So like, I like that. I think it's going to hopefully reduce like combo heavy decks, you know what I mean? And if that's the case, I do think that also changes like snap strategy. One of the pieces of advice I give a lot of people is if you're like, especially in Conquest, if you know their deck is very combo heavy and you have a half decent hand, snap them early, you know what I mean? So this is gonna kind of shake that up a little bit. But yeah, so far, I only played like a couple games since the patch, but I just left her in a bounce deck. I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like you can get some big numbers going in bounce, right? Like, and now you got her and you can bounce her back and then she turns into a 1/3 that hits another card in your deck. Like, woo. What do you think?
I do. So I guess let's get the philosophical thing about the change out of the way first. I love that. I am one of those people that I guess has gone against the grain of the Snap community and saying I don't like or did not like Chavez in her previous state. I had no problem with her as a card. I had no problem with running her. However, I felt that it was a issue that would eventually get out of control that needed to be changed, because at a certain point, it's just one of those cards that's just like, if you're not running it, then you're typically losing in most instances. For example, they just had a ban announcement yesterday for Magic the Gathering, and a card that I don't have a problem with as a card, but don't really like that much, just got unbanned in Pioneer. It's called Smuggler's Copter. The reason it was banned in the first place is because it was colorless. In Magic, there's color restrictions on your lands and how you play your cards, and a colorless card can go in any deck. And Smuggler's Copter is good enough to where it just goes in pretty much every deck. Chavez fits that same thing. It stunts creativity, and I think that's a big issue. And her being changed is awesome. She creates this new puzzle for decks, not only in what she can be played in, but more importantly, what is that 12th best card that she is now going to have that the hole that she left behind be filled in other decks.
Yeah.
On top of which, let's look at the most complained about deck because of this patch, Loki. Loki has escaped a hit not because they didn't feel like they needed to hit him, but because rather the timing of which they put in this patch, it was when Loki was still a 3 cost and they had in the pipeline for an OTA to change him to a 4 cost. So of course they're not going to submit into a patch nearly a month out to have him changed on top of that. They have to see the results of the OTA they have planned out in about a week after the submission of the patch. That deck, for those of you complaining that wasn't hit, just lost one of their best cards. Loki is probably the most dependent on that extra bit of percentage other than discard, I would say.
Like, here, can I say something real quick, Brad? Will you let me say something real quick? Like, you guys, quit fucking bitching about Loki. All right, just stop it. Just fucking stop it. Like, it is like, it's a good deck. It's one of the top decks, but the way people talk about that card, like, makes me want to jump off a building. Like, it is insane. Like, I did a few Infinity Conquest runs, and I played with like the top Loki deck. The first one I got to the 4th round before losing to some RNG and stuff, but there's so many decks that it's just not great against. Like, you guys, high Evo decks are some of the top decks right now, and Loki just doesn't do a ton with that. And it is combo centric. I think this deck took a big hit, but like the way people talk, like, man, like the way people talk about like quitting the game over Loki, like, it's just mind blowing to me. Like, it's a card, it almost reminds me of the, what I used to say about bounce, right? Like, there is a certain amount of skill that comes with it. Like, you couldn't just play bounce and win. Like, the amount of people basting their demons is insane, you know? And with Loki, you really got to be strategic about when you're gonna Loki, what are you holding on to, especially with Werewolf by Night and how that curve's set up too. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just saw some complaints about Loki not being touched. I think we're good. Am I crazy, Brad? Or is he just busted?
You're not crazy. They've admitted that like Loki is very, so let me actually go back to the actual statement that Glenn made, because he was asked, of course, in the Discord section of where you can ask the team of why they didn't hit Loki. And this is what Glenn had to say. As we've said a few times now, patch changes are not reactions to the current live metagame. That's what OTAs are for. Patches are locked many weeks in advance. For example, this patch was locked when Loki was still a 3-cost card and Werewolf wasn't even released yet, as the Thanksgiving break added extra time to our normal cadence. Our next OTA is 12/21. Frankly, Loki's not even an undisputed best deck right now, much less an all-timer. Lockdown, Bounce Hawk, and Zabu Hawk have all had equivalently strong performances over the last couple weeks, trading places on our leaderboards. Discard and Destroy have both been nipping at everyone's heels as well. With the change to Alioth, we expect to see additional shakeups, which we'll get to the Alioth changes in just a second. Is Loki too strong? Yeah, I do think so. As his overall metrics are typical of... I apologize. Yeah, I think so, especially in Conquest where you can't surprise him when it matters most. But we wouldn't prep a second nerf for him because before seeing the results of the change to being a 4-cost, like I said earlier. And then talking about Werewolf being as far as metrics goes, just a good card, but he has very high skill ceiling in the metrics polarized among different sets of players, just like Loki does. Just yesterday, we had a discussion about these kinds of cards and how to best evaluate them. So they are having internal discussions on what do they do about cards that are really good at the highest echelon of play, but are really mid everywhere else, right?
Yeah, and like, that's the thing too. That's what bothers me as well. Like, because that's the second time, maybe more than that Glenn has said, Loki's a pretty mid card, a pretty mid deck, except for at the highest levels of play. Like, bro, be real with yourself. Most, if not all of the people listening to our podcast right now or watching it are not even in that top echelon where Loki is the best deck. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it'd be like me bitching about something that only affects like billionaires or millionaires. Like, what? Like, what? That has nothing to do with me. I'm playing a whole different game down here, you know? So anyways, I'll shut up. We got a lot of cards to go through. But anyways, Loki probably took a hit with the Chavez change. Jumping to the next one. Jump into our purple buddy.
Real
Your
quick,
favorite guy.
I'm gonna give you some breaking news real quick because this does directly impact you, my friend. You ready?
Me?
Yes, you. So, you know how last season they did the purchase reward thing where you can get all the different tiers in the Nuverse shop, and the top end was the Kim Jacinto Enchantress. Well,
Yeah.
they have a new one.
Yeah,
And
I just saw.
The top card is a nullified Miles Morales.
You know what's funny too? An ad for Marvel Snap popped up. By the way, I don't think everybody's like I hate when people are like, oh my God, these targeted ads and like they're terrible. They're terrible. Why do I get Marvel Snap ads? I'm a Marvel Snap content creator. Whoever is in charge of their algorithms is bad. Anyways, I retweeted a screenshot because they had this nullified Miles. I was like, false advertisement. This isn't even in the game. And then the whole thing was just like, haha, fuck you, spend hundreds of dollars and you too can own this. So, but they mentioned that this was coming in December. And so I've been waiting because they have that gold bonus, you know? So your boy's about to wail out and get a nullified Miles.
Also, Twitch drops got announced from 12/20 or December 20th to January 2nd. 2 hours of watching get you 65 boosters for a random card. 4 hours get you 300. I don't know, and I guess the article that they posted with the new verse thing. I'm just seeing it on Twitter. 4 hours get you 350 credits. 6 hours get you a random mystery variant. So no specific cards this time around, but you know, I'm cool with them doing them monthly. If they at least do shit like this, is cool.
Wait, what did you say? There was mystery variants with the Twitch drops?
It's a single mystery variant at 6 hours.
I would much rather that, like the Shocker one. I was like, eh. And it was such a big letdown after the previous Twitch drops. It was like, here's 3 variants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd rather just a mystery and just roll the dice with it, you know? So, oh, there's a new Black Cat variant in here too.
Sick.
That's cute. That's cute. I like it.
All right, next up on the list, though, we got Alioth. Alioth has been changed from a 6'3" to a 6'2", and not only that, his Unrevealed works a little bit differently. Before, his Unrevealed just says, destroy all enemy cards here, are played here during this turn, and that includes Unrevealed cards. Can't speak today. Jesus Christ. Now, it says on reveal, destroy all unrevealed enemy cards here. Now, this means a couple of things. One, he is now the priority card, which I think is fine. That's what he was for the most part anyway. His role still exactly fits that. This is an amazing rework for that, while also giving people the chance of saying, hey, you want your shit to reveal first and not lose to an Alioth? You have that now. Congratulations. This can appease both sides in that regard. People saying that Alioth is dead are fucking insane to me. Still works perfectly as the card you want. And not only that, we have confirmation that it works in another way now. You ever gone against Living Tribunal or Hella decks that love to hide their good stuff behind an Invisible Woman? Well, if you play Alioth on turn 6 on top of an Invisible Woman, and they've been playing cards there all game, he hits all of them.
Oh, really? That's very cool.
He hits
I did not
all
know
of
that.
them now.
Very cool functionality. Yeah,
that's
because
awesome.
that's good because it was always like a gamble of what order they were doing stuff in or whatever.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they'd like put the Modok behind there, but then have Hella on the outside of it. You know what I mean? Like if they felt like you were playing Alioth, very cool. But
vice versa, but yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think if anything, kind of like you mentioned, I haven't seen anybody complain about this, but it'll be a psychological nerf. In my opinion, like this card has not changed. Like I think the biggest part of the nerf to this or change to this, because I don't even think it's a nerf, is the power downgrade. You know what I mean? Like when someone's going there, as long as they were winning, you know, as long as 3 power helped them push them over the edge. But like in the decks, like this is played, you know, like the Miss Marvel lockdown one, you're maintaining priority pretty well. So that's not changing. But I do think that Invisible Woman thing that you just mentioned is a huge buff to this card. So if the play rate for this just like plummets, purely psychological, I do not see, like I reached Infinite, my son reached Infinite with the Miss Marvel lockdown deck using Alioth and Professor X. like this change would have not affected anything. So if you stop playing him, that's on you. I think the card's fine.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, let's move on. Don't really need to go into their thinking about it for the most part. Next is Luke Cage. Luke Cage goes from being a 2/2 ongoing, your cards can't have their power reduced, to a now 2/3 ongoing, your cards here can't have their power reduced. So now going from a global effect to a effect that only can basically save that single lane. So if you're able, so now I think some big changes is going to make is, of course, there are certain decks like High Evo, which I think Luke Cage can still be very good against. But he goes from being the typical just throw him out on turn 2 until High Evo gonna fuck off. Now you need to hold on to him, wait till you see where they're playing their shit, and then just drop down Luke Cage in front of the Cyclops, right? This also acts another way of like being another Cosmo, so to speak, to protect things like Collector or whatever in that particular lane. Downside though, Typhoid Mary eats a pretty big nerf in this sense, as well as Hazmat eats a huge nerf.
Well, yeah, let me tell you, I don't like this at all. I don't like it at all. Like, all the people who complained about Luke Cage were using the best decks in the game. Like, I don't like it. Like, people like High Evo players. Like, I'd see High Evo players be like, "Oh, Luke Cage is so strong. I can't reduce the power on everything to get a fucking one cost abomination that I'm doubling up with Moon Girl." Like, that's one of the top decks. I just made a video on it. So, oh no, now I can't play my one cost abomination with my one cost or zero cost fucking She-Hulk and my Hulk. Oh no, Luke Cage is destroying all my plans, right? Like, what the hell? So like, I don't like this whatsoever, like at all. This for me is the biggest L of the patch. Yeah, because like you said, Typhoid Mary, screwed. Like, you have to zero her now, right?
Or Enchantress her, yeah.
Yeah, you may be able to use it with Lizard, like maybe, I'm thinking of some recent shells with like, Lizard and Typhoid Mary and stuff like that, but that utilize Luke Cage. But yeah, like I just don't like it. For all of you people who complain about Shadow King as well, like this hurts that, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Did they put any rationale that I'm forgetting?
They just said that they think that the global effect is a bit too strong, which we'll see in the next card too. Is it's leaning towards their philosophy of the game moving forward and where their card design is looking at. That's the main.
Yeah, part. Not a fan at all.
Well, sorry, not the next one. It's the one after this, but it's
Speaking
Shadow
of
King. Yeah, Shadow King. He just gets a little bit of a power shaved off. Essentially, they said that when they buffed him from a 3/3 to a 2/3, they thought it might be aggressive, but they wanted him to be more played, and he has definitely been more played. But because Luke Cage's nerf is absolutely going to make him more, viable, I guess, in the lanes where Luke Cage isn't protecting, then they can say, yeah, deducting a little bit of a power is worth it. This is fine.
Yeah, I think as a massive Shadow King enjoyer, I think this is fine. It'll be interesting, like with the Luke Cage shit too. God, I'm not gonna let that go. But I'm just wondering, because I saw people talk about like, oh, just Mystique your Luke Cage, and no, that's just too much shit going on. But Shadow King, I've always wanted to run Shadow King with Absorbing Man. Just start hitting multiple lanes. You know what I mean? Because I don't think. Because like one of the old decks I liked was like that Elsa Guards deck, where you would put Luke Cage down and protect all of your stuff that's gaining power, and then it didn't matter where you Shadowed King because your Luke Cage was protecting all of your stuff. And now it's kind of like, I don't know if that's necessarily a strategy I could do. So anyways, at some point we need to get Absorbing Man up in the mix with Shadow King.
I've done it, where you can go on. So basically I had a deck that was playing Shadow King, Shang-Chi, and Absorbing Man, and it was nice to be able to just do like that and the other on and it was also running Zabu, so you could do essentially a combination of all three on 6. Was always nice.
Ooh,
but
I like.
Here we go. We got Elsa. So this is what I was talking about in terms of that global aspect. Elsa is going from a 2/2 to a 2/3, and rather than anywhere you fill a lane with a card, it gives +2 power. It's only where she is. I'm going to say right off the bat, people that think that she has been fucking killed are, sorry, you're a little stupid. A little stupid.
No, not smart people.
And I mean that in a very kind way. I'm trying to educate you in which you can, crawl out of the gutter of your stupidity.
Brad, the word to use is ignorant. It's a little bit smarter than stupid.
A little stupid. A little stupid. Because you're not, the reason I'm saying you're a little stupid is because you're not taking the time to sit there and evaluate what this means. And you're just knee-jerk reaction of saying, I can't do stuff everywhere and have them grow by +2. Oh my God, she's significantly worse. The cards you're going to play the most with her are always going to be things like Kitty Pryde, where she doesn't give a fuck about being played or just keep bouncing her over and over against on that one lane. That's fine. You know, other cards like to be played with Elsa? Move cards. Looking at things like Nightcrawler, Vision, and Jeff. Where are they going to be played? Probably on her lane, and then zip them on out of there. She's still going to be very, very good with those cards. You're fine. I promise you're okay, especially when we show you the next card on this list. You're going to be very happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
She's still very good. I'm still going to play her in my Thanos list. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah,
I promise.
I haven't played her that much, but I didn't think the original nerf was too bad. Even with this, like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Especially get to the next one so we can have a well-rounded conversation.
Kid is back to a 1/1.
I like it. Yeah, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Like, because, yeah, there were certain times where it's just like, oh, man, you're, like, not doing, like, anything. But, yeah, like, Elsa and Kitty, like, that's just what I want. Like, I want, and I think they're just, like, they're turning the knobs to see where the right place is for these, you know what I mean? And, like, we haven't even talked about mixing back in Angela and stuff, because that was kind of like the combo. We have like Elsa and Angela and then Kitty, and you're just like kind of doing stuff. So like, I don't know, I'm really excited for this new season and these cards and stuff like that. We got Sebastian Shaw, who just dropped today and stuff. But yeah, I can't wait to mess around with Elsa a little bit more, using Kitty in there. Might even keep Chavez in my bounce deck and just start tossing stuff down.
Worth noting as well, with this Elsa change, on top of which, they have made it so prior, if you were to play something like, Brood or Mr. Sinister, they don't generate and get that +2. Now they do. That doesn't mean you're going to get, if you go turn 2 Elsa, turn 2 Brood on top of her, it doesn't mean you're going to get, a 3/4 and then copies of that 3/4. They're going to reveal first, and then Brood is going to get the +2 after the fact. Same thing with Sinister. So that's another little caveat that people should be aware of as far as the way she can be played now. Next is a huge one that I am actually kind of excited for, because I think this is a really cool card. I said it was going to probably be a bad card, and look at that. I was right, because they flat out said he's been pretty bad. So we're doing this, and this is a massive, massive buff. The Ebony Blade going from a 4/0 to now gaining ongoing, can't be destroyed, and its power can't be reduced. So in those decks where you're trying to high roll and get that blade from discarding a Infinite to a 4/20, well, now it can't be Shadow King back down to 0, and it can't be destroyed by Shang-Chi. I guess technically speaking, it could if you go ahead and Enchantress it or Rogue it. But then at that point, you're committing at the minimum 3 or 4 via Enchantress or Rogue. And then on top of that, another 2 or 4 through Shadow King or Shang-Chi. That's a lot to get rid of a 4/20 in a lane, but I guess that could be worth it in some niche instances.
Wait, so will Rogue get its power?
No, it would just gain its ongoing. Can't be destroyed, his power can be reduced. So get roguing it just makes it so that Rogue now can't be destroyed or have its power. So if you buffed Rogue in some way, like the new America Chavez or Okoye or whatever, then she can't be Shadow Kinged, I guess. It's more so talking about making it so this can be hit.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts. They have a lot of stuff coming out where it's like, and it's kind of like killing me as a tech card lover. But like, yeah, I think Black Knight's gonna be huge. I was trying to check some of the sites, like when is Black Knight coming back around in the spotlight caches? Like, I think Stocks on this
next
card
month.
went up huge.
The data mines have it in one of the spotlights I saw because there's some discard cards in February.
Speaking of, I forgot to mention this. We were talking about Chavez, and you played around with it a little bit. Howard the Duck stocks. Howard,
Yeah.
Iron Lad, fucking Chavez, like, woo! I don't know.
It's perfectly fine. I don't think it's great. I think
fine.
it's a fun little thing. I tried it in my Living Tribunal deck because I was like, yeah, let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I wonder how it'll work with like Sebastian Shaw and stuff, though, right? Like seeing when
that's really cool. And I will say though, the wording or like her effect, I guess, for Chavez, because I never really talked about this, I'm not 100% sold on. It does kind of feel like it a little bit in terms of her character, because you're looking at the top card of like you're looking through her star portal or whatever, getting a little bit of info, that kind of thing, and then you're affecting it. I'm okay with the flavor of it. It's just like, would I rather buff the top card of my deck with a 2/3 by 2, or buff the next card I play with a 1/1 by 2 in Forge? You know, like comparatively versus that, it's like, how much better is she than Forge? Because the decks that want to play her are probably going to be playing Forge too. You can play them both, don't get me wrong, but if you have to make that cut, you know.
Well, even like just like the bounce deck too, like running Forge and Chavez and Shaw or something like that. You know what I mean? Just like you could do a lot of stuff. Like bounce decks have been getting crazy with like Nico when you land on her, like doubling her own power and stuff. You just start getting nuts. So yeah, it'll be interesting. But anyways, I think Ebony Blade, the Black Knight thing, I think that'll be huge. It was definitely one of the worst cards. Some people have been seeing some luck with it, you know, and like I like playing around with it, but it just hasn't felt top tier. And this, like, I don't know.
To be clear, I don't think this is going to bring this to a top tier deck. I think this just going, no, not at all. I think it's still going to be a bad deck overall. I want to say that right now and get that on the air. I am saying that this at the end of the day is still a pretty bad deck.
I don't know, like there was a week or two ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, where somebody really popularized a Black Knight deck, and I was just laughing my ass off. It was like a Black Knight Shuri deck, and I was just laughing my ass off because I was playing Shadow King. I knew everywhere they were going to play because people wanted to Shuri it and Taskmaster and all that shit. I would just boop, bring it down to 0, and I don't know how many of those games I would have lost had I not done that. But let me ask you this. What are your thoughts on this they're introducing this a little bit more. We see like with data mines coming up where power cannot be reduced or it can't be destroyed. Like, do you think that's healthy for the game?
Yes, that's called indestructible, baby.
And the nerf to Shang-Chi, you know? Like,
big fan. I love indestructible stuff in card games. So
I don't know.
It's sparing. It has to be sparing, and there has to be a way to get around it. Right? I'll put it this way. This is an outlier. Ebony Blade having both can't be destroyed and its power can't be reduced is an outlier. The average card is not going to get both of these at once. It will get one or the other, right? Because you need a failsafe. So in Magic, if a card is indestructible, it can't be destroyed. However, it can be exiled, which is another mechanic. Or it can be bounced, like in return to hand or whatever. You have ways to get around it. More often than not, you don't have very many cards in card games that have every way possible where it's like, can't be targeted, can't be destroyed, can't be exiled. It's too much. So maybe we'll get hexproof in the future too. That'd be kind of cool. Cards can't be targeted. I don't know how that would work.
So there's this card. We have, what's that, Clyera or something like that, where you can't destroy 1 or 6 cost cards, right? The new data mines, and we'll go over these more in depth, but one of them is Call Obsidian. He's a 4/10. You can only play this at a location with an Infinity Stone. Ongoing, can't be destroyed. You know what I mean? I'm just like, you know, and I guess like I do have to remember that it will take up a slot to play these can't be destroyed cards or cards that protect other cards, you know what I mean? But yeah, like I know we've talked about this a million times. there are different people who have different styles of play. They enjoy doing different things. There are some people who are like born from the depths of hell who enjoy playing Sandman decks. Good for them, you know, whatever. But like, I don't know, like I like tech cards. I like reversing what you did. You know what I mean? I like doing stuff like that. I feel like, you know, that's how you get like really good surprise plays, and you gotta like kind of think a little bit more rather than just like, me put so much power on board, you can't beat me. Like, I just feel like that is just like the lowest level of kind of like caveman play. Just me put big numbers, you know, you cannot do nothing to these cards. I don't like that.
I mean, yes, fun is subjective, right? You can play as you want. You can enjoy the game as you want. I guess it just depends on. I trust, based on what I've seen so far with their philosophy, and especially with recent and today's patch of what they want the game to look like. I have the utmost faith that it will be fine. Also, it's a game that they can constantly update anyway. So
yeah. But yeah, and they just nerf Luke Cage. God damn it. All right, we're moving on. What do we got?
Well, we have Rona Slayer. She's a 2/3 now. That's it. They just gave her some love.
I'm glad. That sound like you want to skirt past it. That's 2 points of power. That's 2 points. Like,
Cerebro 3, baby.
Like, maybe part of me is just really happy about this because when Ravona came out, there were so many people just like drinking the Ravona Kool-Aid. And I'm like, stop it. Stop it. All of you, just stop it. She's going to be good for a week. Mobius was coming out the very following week. And yeah, she lived for like a week, right? But like,
she wasn't even good then.
Yeah, right? And like, this
She's
is
still
her
not
second,
good. This is
her second buff, but like, I'm just like, they're really trying to make my girl work. You know what I mean? They dropped her cost. They're bumping up her power. What was she originally? A 3-1? A 3-2?
Something like that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. Like,
no,
I think the decks
a 3/3. I think she lost the power and she got buffed. I don't know.
I really want the decks to work. Like, I loved playing the Ravona, like Goblin, Darkhawk deck. Like, I think it's a fun, interesting deck, but yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if she'll be good. I'm just glad they're showing her some love.
Well, she won't be. I can assure you that. I think she'll be good as the game gets older and we get more cards that fit with her criteria of what she wants to reduce.
I don't. What cards in the future are fitting her criteria?
None at the moment. None at the moment. There are literally none.
Like, yeah, because the only one I can even think of is Celine.
And she's a 1 cost.
Is Blob a 6/0 though? No, Blob's a 6/3, right?
Yeah, 6/4.
6/4, yeah. So yeah, Celine gets nothing, Blob gets nothing. So like, I don't know. We'll figure something out for you, Ravona. We'll do it.
You can do that. I don't give a shit about Ravona. Anyway, we have Mindstone getting changed. This kind of leads into the one card you mentioned, the data mine, but we'll get back to that in just a second. Mindstone going from an Unrevealed, draw 2 stones from your deck to now on reveal, draw 2 1-cost cards. So they said they're playing with some ideas as far as design, and for future effects involved granting a player a random Infinity Stone, which is going to fucking suck when you get a Mind Stone, right? But then you can't use it. Same thing with kind of like, you know, this actually makes a cost for Thanos decks in the sense of, let's say Machine World pops up, and a lot of Thanos players love to just play Mind Stone on Machine World. It's like, yeah, I'll give you a 1/1 that does nothing for your deck. Well, now it kind of does something for your opponent in that sense. So I'm okay with this change. I've seen some people say rocks can get drawn now. That fucking sucks. Yep, sure does. But I understand what they're saying. They're playing around with some stuff.
They yeah, one of the data mine locations is Sanctuary 2. Add a random Infinity Stone to your hand.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you got Mind Stone and you're not playing a Thanos deck, like, you'd be pretty boned. You know what I mean?
I think another way that they could easily fix this problem that they're, you know, essentially making for themselves by creating these locations or whatever, or cards outside of Thanos that generate Infinity Stones, just make it that Mind Stone cannot be generated in these scenarios. It's like it's the excluded one.
Yeah, maybe that's just too much effort.
Because, like, let's think of the logic here. What happens when you get a Power Stone? Are you going to be like, oh, that feels bad too because you have no Thanos to buff with it? It's impossible to get the value out of it. Yes, it's a 1/3, sure. But it's not, I mean, the other stones outside of Mindstone and I guess Power Stone is a little bit of a lesser extent have clear capabilities in any deck they're plugged into.
Yeah.
These won't.
Like at least the Power Stone's a 1/3 though. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So like if it generates that for me, I'm like, I got a 1/3. Whatever.
But we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see. Thanos hasn't been at the top of the meta for a while. Just keep fucking with it. Just keep on fucking with it. All right.
So they've changed unrevealed cards that cannot be moved now. So before Stegron, Arrow, Spider-Man would all be able to hit cards that are unrevealed and move them. One thing I would do all the time is, let's say Gamma Lab comes up, I have priority, and they play... I'm like, it's turn 3. I'm like, okay, I'm going to play Spider-Man on this right now to try and yoink whatever they're playing there and not give them the Hulk. Now you can't really do that unless they have priority. So that's a little awkward. Stegron's buffed to a 4/6, by the way. Arrow's buffed to a 5/9, and now she says that she's actually just going to move the most recent card that's been played anywhere, because now with her not actually moving unrevealed cards, if you have priority on turn 5, it's going to move whatever they most recently played on turn 4 or turn 3 if they passed on turn 4. Whatever.
I like that adds like a little extra strategy, right? Like if they played something big there or whatever, like let's say you're playing against like a Shuri deck, right? And like somehow you still have priority, you're winning the other 2 lanes, they Shuri like a Red Skull, and I just bring that over to wherever I think you're gonna play Taskmaster, you know what I mean? And I just shove all your power in one lane. Like that's kind of cool, you know? Cool. So that's interesting. But as soon as I saw this Stegron buff, I'm like, man, poor Cerebro 5. Cerebro 5 was like one of the top decks at one point. It had Alioth, it had Stegron, it had Captain Marvel. I can't remember what else, but yeah, like all 3 of those cards, they've changed. Alioth is no longer a 6/5, Stegron no longer 6/5, Captain Marvel no longer a 4/5. But
they still have 3 2-drops that can be a 5. Technically 4 if you really want to count Star-Lord.
Yeah.
Like, and they also still have Doctor Doom at this point. And I'm gonna be honest, if you were running Stegron in your Cerebro 5 list, I'm just like, what are you doing?
Stegron is so fun. I want to play him.
No, I love Stegron, but he's best in like decks that want to play things like Storm or like, other synergies, or like I like him in Lockdown quite a bit. I don't know.
The Stegron decks I've played where I just have fun. It's just like, it's kind of like what you're saying. I'm just like, what are you doing here? What are you doing in this deck, Stegron? And you just fucking just whack something out of the lane. Maybe that's what I'll do after when I play tonight. I'll build this Stegron Arrow deck and just have chaos just running around.
Well, Juggernaut still works the same way. It also has updated text to make sure it represents this new change. Essentially, it says, as I scroll down, unreveal, move away all enemy cards played here this turn, including unrevealed cards. So your boy Juggernaut still functions the exact same way. And that's good. That's good. Still a good card.
Yep.
Congrats. And then the last thing, Phoenix has been fixed, which means essentially before, everyone thought that this was just how the game worked and how Phoenix Force worked. No, this was a bug. The longest bug in existence. They finally fixed. Now, if you were to play Phoenix Force and you copy or merge with Multiple Man that you've destroyed, and you go ahead and move your now new Multiple Man that's a 2/8, what's going to happen is it's going to leave behind a copy. But all you could do is move that original version of Multiple Man and then leave a copy. That's it. And once a turn. Now, when you move that Multiple Man, the copy that was left behind, it could be moved too. So now you can move, then move. So you go from 1 to 2, then 2 to 4, 4 to 8 potentially total Multiple Mans across the board that are movable.
But you're only going to be able to do that twice, right? Like, because you're going to play Phoenix Force on 4. Yeah. So you can do that on turn 5 and then on turn 6.
Yeah. That's still that's still a huge buff. Huge.
I was watching some people like when the patch came out, like a bunch of people like jumped in the Phoenix Force deck and like it didn't do shit. Like they still didn't like get like insane wins or whatever. So, but I guess like we'll see. I think people really want Phoenix Force to be good. I've seen there's just been so many cards that have been released where people are like cards bad, not gonna play it, right? But Phoenix Force, people keep trying to resurrect it like the Phoenix. You know what I'm saying? But I
Probably because
know.
it's fun.
Yeah, just moving shit around. So yeah, I don't know if it'll be fantastic.
Also, this pixel needs to get released. I love it. This is one of my favorite pixels in the game.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's a great looking card. Again, I'm telling you, you'll have a newfound appreciation for pixels if you just imagine you're playing your Nintendo or your Game Boy or whatever, and you're like,
that is the number one issue with pixels. When you like look at like the Shadow King or like the Kingpin, and I'm like, no, they could have made these better back in the Nintendo days. Like some of them were just disproportioned, weird looking piles of garbage. I think that's what bothers people. People are like, no, they could have made this better. Like if you got like, so I've been getting really into game development, and part of that is like learning game art, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I've been learning a lot of like pixel art and stuff. And I've followed a bunch on YouTube, and I'm like, they could do 1,000 times better, you know? Like with just shading and like perspective and stuff like that. So I think some of these pixel artists are just they're slacking.
Well, I mean, it's the same studio, so
is it like
it's the same? Yeah, it's the same studio for all of them. It's the G whatever one.
Yeah. Well, some days either they have a bad artist in there, or some days they just get lazy.
I mean, it's probably 100 or so artists that are just like, all right, Bob, you got this one today. He's like,
yeah. If Bob comes in like, look what I did. So probably somebody's fucking nephew or something.
Bob's hung over his shit.
Yeah. He's doing LSD at work, something crazy. Look at the Kingpin I made. It's like, oh, Bob.
All right. You got any closing thoughts for today's patch, today's wonderful update?
Nope. Big update. Upset about Luke Cage, but other than that, no. Overall, I'm excited. I haven't like this podcast. I think we're at 3 weeks instead of the bi-weekly. Like I've been really bored with the game, and it's not. It hasn't been the Alioth stuff or like running into the same decks. I think that's always been there in Marvel Snap. For me, I think it was the lack of OTAs and the lack of like really fun, interesting cards this previous month. Like we had a few good months where it was just like OTAs and like meta shifting cards, and like November was just like really boring. Like with all of these updates, with Sebastian Shaw coming out today, with the new cards coming, Blob, Celine, I'm pretty excited to mess around with because I've been enjoying Annihilus a little bit more. So like overall, I'm really excited for the game. It's made me want to play a lot more. So that's where I'm at.
I agree for the most part.
Have you been playing at the same frequency, or are you still cheating with Lorcana bullshit?
So now I'm gonna probably play more Magic again because I liked the bans that they just did for the format that I play the most. But yeah, I mean I try to balance it. I try to have a decent amount of reach in all these different games I like to play. The nice thing about Snap is because the nature of it is the faster games, it's not hard to be able to keep up with what's going on, even if I play less than normal, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. Even though I wasn't playing much, I could still like hop in a few games here or there, you know, whatever, and like keep up to date and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and yeah, I'm curious to see what this OTA is gonna be, because originally we didn't have an OTA this month at all. And they just announced that we're doing an OTA balance on the 21st. And it was speculated like that they really like, that they felt like they missed with this patch. So they're gonna do some OTAs as well. But like this just shook everything up. So now I'm curious what the OTA is gonna be. And maybe they can turn some knobs, maybe shut up some Loki players if they're still bitching, take Loki down to a 4-4 or something, you know? So yeah, this month's it's gonna be cool. I don't know if I'll be playing like a ton more, but I'm gonna be playing a decent amount, especially like just when new cards get released and stuff like that. But yeah, over on my channel, I will be hustling and making a bunch of videos this month. I'll be totally transparent. I don't give a fuck, Brad. December is the highest revenue month for YouTube, and that's why I'm gonna be doing it. So you guys, you're welcome. My girlfriend's birthday is December 15th. My son's birthday is December 31st. And Christmas is right in between both of them. It's an expensive ass month for your boy, so I'm gonna be cranking out that YouTube content. Watch, like, subscribe, watch every single ad, tell your friends. I need to make some of this Christmas season money back.
That's honestly fair. Yeah, I unfortunately I'm not monetized on YouTube, so I cannot reap the benefits of the crazy month. But I'll do more stuff. You know, this I want to do more interesting shit. Like I enjoy doing the tier list. So, and that one is only my second video to get over 1,000 views, and I was like, what the fuck?
Imagine if you went daily, Brad. Imagine if you went daily, the things that you could accomplish.
But I know, but like then I wanted. I don't know. I want that motivation of like, that sounds like a good, fun thing to do. But like oftentimes they're not the fast, quick 10-minute videos that like you can just crank out of like, look at this deck. It's so good.
Yeah. I don't know. You got to figure out a system. Get monetized this month. The money's good.
I'll just do a tier list every single day.
There you go. Make a tier list of things Marvel Snap players bitch about.
Honestly, yeah, I could.
There's one. Marvel Snap conspiracy theories. There's another one. Right?
Right. Okay.
You could do variants, and that gives you plenty of content because you could do Dan Hip variants, Kim Jacinto variants, Venomized variants. You could be the tier list guy.
I actually wouldn't mind that. It's not tier lists are fun. So
yeah, boom, just gave you a bunch of content.
All right, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching and listening and subscribing to Chris and all that good stuff, and making sure that you can have a wonderful, beautiful holidays, and make sure you can have a great holidays with us. As we thank you, we appreciate you. Let our faces shine on you and be gracious to you as you look on us in favor, and we give you our peace as we give you our thanks. Chris, what happened?
I was just looking at the data mines, and they data mined emotes too, so there's even more.
We don't have time for that shit, but bye everybody.